Hi, friends. You don't have an affirming problem. It's just that you keep undoing it. So, this is why people continue to struggle with affirming. It's not at all because affirming doesn't work, it's because the statement feels so far from what they currently believe that they drop it before it ever has a chance to actually take hold. And in the past, I did the exact same thing, so I understand. You might say something like, I'm wealthy, I'm chosen, I always get what I want. And your mind immediately goes, yeah, no. And so you stop, not because it wouldn't work, but because it doesn't feel true. So here's what changed everything for me. I stopped thinking affirming was the thing that does it. Affirming doesn't do it. Affirming keeps you focused. That's it. So if you're affirming something, but underneath you're still convinced it's not possible, you're going to keep dropping it. And that's why building the foundation matters so much. Because once I truly understood, not hoped or wished or tried to believe, but knew that anything is possible depending on what I hold my attention on and who I'm being, then affirming made sense. Because now I'm not trying to make something happen. I'm choosing what I'm focusing on. And this is where a lot of people miss it. You have to know yourself. Socrates said it thousands of years ago, know thyself. Because until you see what you actually believe about yourself, you won't see how you're undoing everything you're saying. People call this self concept. I prefer to call it self knowing because what you know yourself to be is what you keep experiencing. But here's the important part: what you know about yourself right now is not fixed, it's just what you've been repeatedly believing. And anything you assume to be true, remember, becomes true. That's the only thing that's fixed. So let me give you another analogy. If I ask you, why do you believe that about yourself? You could say, because I read it in a book. And I'd say, then why are you still reading that book? And you might say, because it's the only one I have. So I invite you to walk down a hallway with me. And at the end of the hallway, I open a door. And inside is a library, an unlimited one. And every single book in that library is about you, different versions of you. Yep, the version that's stuck, the version that's even more stuck, the version that's free, the version that has everything they want, the version that gets everything they want, the version that already has it all. There's even a version where you receive a letter saying someone left you a massive inheritance. You see, everything exists. But if you're still identified with the version that says, huh, that's not possible, that's a scam, that's not for me, you'll reject it. So the work isn't forcing affirmations, the work is expanding what you're available for. Because the real delusion is that you ever thought you were limited. So here's the truth: even when your life improves, there's another version that's even better. This is ongoing. That's why you don't ever arrive, but you do expand. Remember, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's not a one time thing, it's continuous. Now, can you go from A to Z? Yes, I suppose so, but it wasn't my experience, and most other people don't either. Not because it's not possible, but because their nervous system and identity can't hold it. So they try to jump from A to Z and don't quite make it. and then decide it's impossible. Instead of just moving A to B, B to C, C to D, and then maybe you do jump a few more steps. And because of this gradual shifting, that's exactly why I built the News Story Lab. Because isn't it better to actually change your life, even if it's step by step, than to keep trying to make one massive leap and then telling yourself it doesn't work? If you're really tired of starting, stopping, questioning, and undoing everything, please join me in the News Story Lab, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're changing the story, which of course changes the outcome. So, I actually do want to say one more thing. If you have been doing this work for a while and you feel like you understand it, but you're not seeing the change you expected, this is why. And it's not that you don't get it, it's that you haven't fully seen how you're still holding, or and what you're still holding on to about yourself, about who you are currently identifying as. And friends, until that shifts, you'll keep affirming in one direction and identifying in another. And that is exhausting and confusing. So instead of trying harder, look at what you're still calling true and then decide again. And like I said, it's exactly what we're doing in the News Story Lab. So I have a question for you. If you haven't joined already, what are you waiting for? The link is in the description and the first comment. Do stay well. See you soon.